Okay, hello. Eddie here. So tonight we are actually discussing about module 3. And this one is basically related to your week 5 and week 6 topics. And for week 5, we actually discuss about segmentation, targeting, and positioning, and branding. Now, if you look at that, STP is actually core strategy of marketing. So I would recommend you to understand the process, understand what STP is, because it is very likely, or at least it makes you, it allows you to understand what you need to do at your workplace to contribute to the organization. Okay? Because you can appreciate the positioning strategy of the organization, since it is the core strategy of a business. Okay, now let's have a look at our topic tonight. Okay, types of markets. We have two types of markets. We discussed this in the previous topic, previous module as well, basically, where we have consumer markets and business markets. Consumer markets are basically related to the household or family or individual consumptions, and business markets are basically related to the consumption for an organization. In terms of consumption for an organization, that could be for their own production process or for resale purpose. Okay, right, I'm not going to discuss this a lot more, but basically that shows you a little bit of example of on the consumer market and business market. And in terms of segmentation, as we discussed before, that's what we mean by market segments, which is basically about individuals, groups, or organizations that have similarities. And market segmentation itself is the process of dividing a total market into smaller market segments, okay? So if you think about, let's say, Australian population, we have around 24 million people. If we segment them, we'll come up with, let's say, 6 to 8 market segments. If you conduct a thorough market research, you may come up with 6 to 8 market segments. Okay. Now, each segment should share similarities. Okay. Let's say we name the segment as segment A, segment B, segment C, segment D, segment F. And each of them should share similar characteristics, right? The members within the same segment should share similar characteristics, okay? Now, if we compare one segment to the other segment, they should be different. If they are not different, then there is no reason we put them into the same market segment, okay? So that's what we mean by market segment. So if you look at if you look at our the students in our classroom, for instance, we can also group the students in the classroom into market segments based on any approach that we are going to discuss later on. Okay. All right. So this is basically a brief snapshot in terms of target market selection process. So segmentation here is leading us to making decision about the target market. Okay. If you refer to your prescribed text that you can access from your portal, the first one is basically to identify the appropriate targeting strategy, determine the segmentation variables to use, develop market segment profiles, evaluate the relevant market segments, and later on we need to select the specific target market. Okay, now let's have a look at the first step, identify the appropriate targeting strategy. In terms of targeting strategy, basically there are several views of market Okay, some companies suggest that take the view that everybody is the same, right? All consumers are the same, all right? Therefore, they believe if they provide one thing, it is intended for everybody, because these companies normally believe that everybody is the same. Okay. Now, this if you refer to week one topic where we discussed about the evolution of marketing, we discussed about marketing management concept. This company normally adopts the production concept from marketing management orientation or marketing evolution stage. Okay, where the focus of this company is to make sure that their products are made available and available. Okay, so if they believe that if they can make the product available and affordable, everybody will come. Okay, therefore their focus is basically to battle the costs, right, and to make sure the product to be available in the market. Okay, again, as a result, this company basically views that they don't need to differentiate their offering, so they offer one thing for everybody, for all target market. So if we refer to marketing definition that we discussed in week one, the offering here is basically about the marketing mix that we offer. So this company creates one set of marketing mix for all consumers. Now, the second view is basically believes that not all customers are the same. Customers would be different from individually. They are different. They are unique. Okay, that is reason why they say we need to be able to customize the offering. Okay, or on the other hand, they also believe that they can create one thing just for a specific target market. Okay, so the entire set of the company's offering is intended to meet one market segment only. Okay, now this is what we call as a concentrated targeting strategy, or we also say we also label it as niche marketing strategy. Let's say if we have segment A, segment B, segment C in the market based on our market segment analysis. The entire offering is intended to just to meet one of the segments, let's say segment B. Now, if you look at it further, this company is normally smaller in terms of size, because if you look at the marketing mix or market offering that we create, that requires resources, that requires the company's resources, otherwise it won't work. Okay, so they normally look at the market segment that has been overlooked by the market leader, and they would capitalize in it. They would capitalize their resources to optimize and exploit this market segment that has been overlooked by the market leader. And along the way of the journey, they expect the market segment to grow, to support them, to support their business growing as well. So in that regards, you would expect that concentrated targeting strategy adopted by a company may become a large segment. The market segment in a niche market may become a larger segment in the future when you compete in it and when you nurture the market. You may recall a brand name Sensodyne, for instance, when they came to the market, they avoided the market leader Colgate-Palmolive. So they entered the market with the sensitive teeth at the time and distributed their product through the dental clinics only at a time. And the market size has become larger. And of course, you'll also find some other brands, including Colgate-Palmolive, also competing in the sensitive teeth category. So the market segment has become larger. Okay. Now, if you look at the other business, you can look at night owls, for instance, in retail industry. They are basically in the niche market segment as well, as an example. Okay, we say that there are three views in terms of there are three views of market that companies may adopt. The first one being everybody's the same. The second one being everybody's different. So you just need to select which one that you want to address. And the next one is basically in between. So here we say differentiated targeting strategy. We say in here the companies that adopt this perspective believe that that customers can be grouped into smaller market segments. So which is basically in between the first two views. Okay. So customers share similarities, therefore we can put them into the same subset or the same market segment, where they members in the same market segment should share similar characteristics. They may not be identical, but they share similar characteristics in terms of profile, in terms of preferences, in terms of need, wants, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that is the third view of the market. And the company that adopts this would deploy what we call as differentiated targeting strategy. They look at the market as being heterogeneous, but within that heterogeneous, the company believes that they can find similarities within subsets. Okay, so we can create market segments. Right, this is basically the foundation of market segmentation analysis that we discussed briefly before. So companies that adopt this principle would normally create a different market offering for different market segments. Okay, so let's say if we go back to our segmentation analysis, we have segment A, segment B, and segment C. And the company that adopts this strategy would create a different offering to meet the need of customers in segment A, to meet the need, and they create a different marketing mix variables to meet the need of segment C, assuming that they ignore segment B. They may say, no, I'm not interested in competing with in segment B. I'm going to ignore it. I just want to compete with segment A and segment C. And there you go. I'm going to create a different market offering, a different set of marketing mix. Okay, a lot of companies do this. A lot of large companies adopt this strategy. Okay. If you look at Campbell Islands, if you look at Unilever, if you look at Nestle and so on and so forth, they normally adopt this kind of strategy because they normally have the resources to do it. And as we discussed before, creating a different market offering means we need to put resources behind it. Okay. All right, now we have discussed about the targeting strategy, and now we need to discuss a bit more about the segmentation variables as part of the fundamental elements in conducting market segmentation. Our Prescribe textbook, or Prescribe e-text that you can access from the portal basically suggests what we call as the 4 segmentation variables: geographic, demographic, psychographic, and behavioral. Now, in saying that, is this the only approach of market segmentation? No, there are some other approaches as well that we can use. But for your group project, I would suggest that you adopt this one, the 4 segmentation variables, because they are quite fundamental. Okay, right. So let's have a look at them. The first one is demographic segmentation. Demographic segmentation is basically the process of dividing the process of dividing a large population, the smaller market segments, using demographic variables such as age, gender, race, income, education, occupation, family size, family life cycle, and so on and so forth. Now that may remind you the census survey that the Australian government conducts on a regular basis. Okay, so for instance, if you segment the market based on age, for instance, let's say you group the market based on those who are at the age of 19 to 25, 26 to 35, 36 to 45. That means you are using demographic segmentation variable. Okay. In saying that, one of the important criteria in segmentation is to ensure that your market segment, the members of your market segment, would act differently if you provide them with different stimulus. Okay. Now, in saying that, I just want to highlight to you that sometimes the segmentation variable that we use is probably not relevant to the product or the industry that we are in. Okay, let's say in certain product categories, gender might not be relevant, right? Both gender, male, female, may be the users of the product, and we could say, for instance, we could say everybody is basically sharing similarities in terms of from gender perspective. If that is the case, then gender is not the correct approach to segment this product category or this market. Okay, so we need to look at the other category. Of course, in saying that, gender may be the quite relevant to some other product categories, such as perfume, for instance, or hair salon, for instance. Okay, that may work. So the message in here is basically when you select certain variables in your segmentation analysis, make sure this variable makes the difference. The members of this segment would be different. That would help you to differentiate the members of the market segment. Okay. This one here is an example of age-based segmentation. And here you could say that some millennial generations, they also use the gender segmentation in here as part of the age-based segmentation. And some other scholars also suggest what we call as generational marketing. They group the market segment based on the age, referring to baby boomers, those who are born just right after the end of the Second World War, right through 1965, and then Generation X and Generation Y, or millennial generation. Now, I just want to highlight to you again that to have an effective market segmentation approach, you must ensure that your segmentation will help you to create your strategy, because they will respond. The market segment will respond to your marketing strategies differently. Gender-based, again, as mentioned to you, sometimes gender works, sometimes gender doesn't work. So you need to look at in your industry whether people will respond differently based on gender. The next segmentation approach is geographic segmentation, based on which is basically referring to the geographical units. So in other words, geographic segmentation is the process of dividing a large population into smaller market segments based on a geographical unit. Okay, what do we mean by geographical units? You can look at these variables here, like climate, terrain, city size, population density, city, urban, rural, key cities. So if you say that your target market lives in the key cities in Australia, like like Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Gold Coast, and so on and so forth, that means you're targeting, you're using geographic segmentation variable. Okay. Um, there are a few. There is one thing I'd like to highlight from these slides, and the concept geodemographic segmentation. The concept geodemographic segmentation is basically merging the geographic segmentation, demographic segmentation variables. Now, the important assumption underpinning geodemographic segmentation is that people from the same area, people who live in the same area or postcode, if you like, normally share similar lifestyle because they would normally have similar economic power as well. Okay, so you can in Sydney, for instance, you can compare people who live near the beach, like the guys who live in Manly Beach or Bondi, DY, and so on and so forth. You can also compare to people who live in the western suburb and eastern suburb and so on and so forth. These people are basically different from lifestyle perspective, but if they live in the same area, they would normally share similar lifestyle, similar economic power, and so on and so forth. Okay, now that information is quite critical for those who are in retail industry. Retail industry would normally research the geodemographic segmentation variables. They look at the location, they look at the demographic analysis in that specific area, because that will help them to understand the potential of the local market in there. Okay. The next one is psychographic segmentation. The psychographic segmentation is basically the process of dividing a large population in a smaller market segment using psychographic variables such as personality, social class, and also values. Okay, so the customers would be the members would share the similar personality, if you like, or similar lifestyle, if you like, or similar values, if you like, when you use psychographic segmentation. Now, if you look at that, this is based on lifestyle. So this is basically more into a specific lifestyle. Those who like outdoor lifestyle, those who like, traveling lifestyle. So that's pretty much the lifestyle type of campaign that we can use. And then we have the last one. The fourth variable of segmentation is behavioral segmentation. In this instance, we divide the large population in the small market segment based on the attitude and knowledge of the customers. Okay. Now, specifically, the attitudes and knowledge of the customers to the product includes usage ratio, usage application, and benefits that they are looking for from a product. Okay, usage rate in here includes the how often do they use the product. Some product categories may involve quite regular usage. If you look at if you look at breakfast cereal, you can look at, you can expect more frequent usage rather than the other product categories, for instance. Okay. It also includes the user status, whether they are users of the product, or they're non-users of the product, or they're ex-users of the product. Okay, so if you segment your market based on this, that will tell you a different approach. Okay, if you're targeting users of the product, then you may not need to explain a lot about the benefits of the product, because they're using it. They know the benefits of the product already. So your intention is basically to create the brand loyalty. Okay, and it is going to be a different story if if you're aiming at non-users. So you got to explain the benefit of this product, why these people have to buy this product, and so on and so forth. All right, so that's basically an example of behavioral segmentation. All right, so the next one is business market. Business market has a different approach in terms of segmentation analysis. Some experts suggest we can segment the business market based on geographic location, product use, type of organization, and customer base size. Okay, some other scholars suggest we can use macro and micro segmentation variables for business market. Macro includes the location of the customers, of business market customers, the size of business market customers. Okay, and micro includes the type of persons that you need to deal with, whether or the behavior of the organization, whether they are more risk takers or not. Okay, so that's the type of business segmentation variables.